12-3, 12-3. Two men finish the Hatsu Basho with the exact same record. So they do it again. One extra bout. The winner takes everything. And the winner is Aonishiki, West Ozeki, 12-3, 21 years old, born in Ukraine. Now listen carefully, because the scary question is not how did he win. The scary question is this. Can he take the rope next? Can he become the first European-born Yokozuna? And here's the part most fans get wrong about Yokozuna promotion. It is not a hype train. It is not a popularity vote. It is a standard. So hit like, subscribe to SumoSpirit, because we are not going to stop digging. Let's talk about what Aonishiki actually has to do from here. Hatsu 2026 did not end like a normal tournament. It ended like a final episode, an ozeki title race. A tie at the top, a playoff, and a new champion who is not just a foreigner doing well, but an ozeki already winning at the summit. That matters because ozeki is where the conversation changes. At lower ranks, you can have a magical tournament and surprise everyone. At ozeki, you do not get credit for one hot streak. You get judged for what you can repeat. And Yokozuna is not the next rank. Yokozuna is the final boss of sumo. Here is the simplest way to say what Yokozuna means. You do not just get promoted, you get evaluated as the face of the sport. The Sumo Kyokai's own guide makes the point in a cold way. A Yokozuna cannot be demoted, and if he keeps posting poor records, he is expected to retire. So when they consider someone for the rope, they are asking, can this person carry that weight without breaking? Aonishiki has done step 1. He proved he can win a championship as an ozeki. Step 2 is brutal, because step 2 is where history eats people alive. Let's talk about the wall. Europe has produced stars in sumo, but the rope has always stayed out of reach. Even the Japan Times summed it up in one line. 3 Europeans reached ozeki. Each won a tournament. None went higher. Those 3 were Kotoshu, Baruto, and Tochinoshin. Kotoshu, Bulgarian. Baruto, Estonian, and Tochinoshin, Georgian. All 3 were strong. All 3 were famous. All 3 had rope talk at some point. But they could not chain together the kind of results that makes the council feel safe. Because the rope is not about one trophy. It is about dominance that does not blink. So what makes Aonishiki different? 2 things jump out right away. First, age and timing. Aonishiki hit ozeki at 21 years and 8 months, and he is already winning at the very top. Second, speed. The Kyokai calls it the fastest promotion, only 14 tournaments from pro debut to ozeki. Now compare that to Europe's previous ozeki trio. Kotoshu reached ozeki at 22 in 19 tournaments. Baruto reached ozeki in May 2010 at 25, taking 37 tournaments, counting from debut basho to first basho as ozeki. Tochinoshin reached ozeki in May 2018 at 30, taking 74 tournaments. That is why the wall is still there, but for the first time in a long time, it looks cracked. Now we explain the rope rules, clearly, with no myths. What does Aonishiki actually need for a real Yokozuna push? Fans repeat the same line because it is usually true. You win 2 straight championships as an ozeki. But the official wording is a little wider. The Japan Sumo Association's own guide says a rikishi must win 2 consecutive tournaments or post commensurate results at ozeki before he can even be considered for Yokozuna. That means promotion is not automatic. Even 2 yusho is not a button that prints a rope. They judge the whole picture because a Yokozuna cannot be demoted, and if he keeps putting up poor records, he is expected to retire. So what does commensurate mean in normal language? It means you look like the champion even if you barely miss the cup, like a 14-1 runner-up that loses only in a playoff, or a 13-2 where the title stays alive until the final day and your sumo still screams top of the sport. Keep this locked in. By the end of this video, you will know the exact record Aonishiki needs in Osaka for this to be a real rope run. Hatsu was step 1, Osaka is step 2. So if the rope run is going to be decided in Osaka, you need to understand how Aonishiki even got here this fast. His rise is not just quick, it is historically weird. It starts in September 2023, his pro debut. By March 2025, the Kyokai already lists him in the top division. By September 2025, he is already in Sanyaku. Then on November 26, 2025, after a special board meeting, the Kyokai makes it official. Aonishiki is promoted to ozeki, and his first tournament at the rank shows up on the January 2026 banzuke, and the Kyokai does not treat it like a normal promotion. They put the details right there. Born March 23, 2004, from Ukraine, and a career record of 116-31 at the moment they announce it. They also underline why this is different. He is the first Ukrainian-born ozeki, the 14th foreign-born ozeki, and he reached the rank in only 14 tournaments from his professional debut, which they note as the fastest promotion. Now add the human part, because that is why this story hits harder than a stat sheet. Reuters reported that Aonishiki, born Danilo Yavusishin, left Ukraine after Russia's 2022 invasion, moved with his parents to Germany, and later relocated to Japan in 2022 to pursue sumo full-time. So you are not just watching a talented young ozeki win matches. You are watching someone rebuild his entire life inside the most unforgiving sport in Japan, and Hatsu 2026 was the first time we saw him carry a final day, everything on the line pressure test, and not blink. Hatsu 2026 tightened into a two-man finish, and the numbers stayed locked. Aonishiki ends 12-3. Atamifuji ends 12-3. So, the title is not decided by vibes or he looked better. It is decided by a playoff because the official results leave no separation between them. The lead up to that playoff is what makes it feel like a real championship moment. On Senshuraku, Atamifuji does his job first, forcing out Oshomi to keep his 12th win alive and to make sure Aonishiki cannot win the yusho without being dragged into one last test. Then Aonishiki has to answer, beating Kotozakura to match the record and force the extra bout. Only after both men survive their final scheduled matches does the tournament finally say, "Fine, settle it right now." And in that playoff, Aonishiki wins with kubinage, a headlock throw, and the sequence is the whole story in one snap. Atamifuji is driving, tightening, trying to get the grip that turns power into a walkout. Aonishiki feels the moment slipping, abandons the safe option, swings his arm up around the head, and yanks him down before the bails decide it for him. That one detail matters because playoffs are pure nerves. No hiding. No, I will get them tomorrow. No bad matchup, next day is easier. It is one bout, one mistake, one moment, and he does not freeze. Now, was this a soft tournament? No. The official special prizes tell you the field had bite. Kirishima earns Fighting Spirit at 11-4. Atamifuji earns Fighting Spirit at 12-3. Yoshinofuji earns Outstanding Performance at 8-7. Those awards are not handed out to make the story prettier. They are a signal that multiple guys pushed hard enough to be remembered, even though only one man takes the cup. And there is one more detail that upgrades Aonishiki's yusho from great to historically loud. Takiai notes he is the 9th wrestler ever to win a yusho in his debut tournament as an ozeki, the first since Hakuho about 20 years ago. That is why the rope talk explodes instantly. This is not just a young star winning. This is a young star winning in the exact spot where the sport normally starts testing you instead of praising you. So here is the honest verdict, and it has to match the real system, not the hype. Can Aonishiki become the first European-born Yokozuna? Yes, it is possible, and not in a fantasy way. The process is real. The Japan Sumo Association consults the Yokozuna Deliberation Council, and the council makes a recommendation on whether a candidate is worthy of the rope. But does he meet the usual standard today? Not yet. This was his first yusho as an ozeki, and the Kyokai's own guide spells out the baseline expectation. 2 consecutive tournament wins at ozeki, or results that are commensurate with a tournament victory, before a wrestler can even be considered. That is why Osaka is not just another tournament. It is the second half of the test. And the timing makes it even harsher. The next Honbasho starts on March 8, 2026 in Osaka, just weeks after Hatsu ended, so there is no long runway where the story can breathe. Sumo forgets fast because the calendar is relentless. If you do not do it again in the very next chapter, the rope talk cools. If you do it again, it stops being a hot streak and starts looking like history. So now we talk about scenarios, clean and clear, so you can watch Osaka like a detective. If Aonishiki wins the yusho in Osaka, that is the cleanest case. 2 straight championships as an ozeki is the classic standard, and it is exactly the kind of back-to-back proof that has powered modern promotions like Onosato's second straight cup in 2025 that made his promotion certain in contemporary coverage. If he does it, the question stops being, can he, and becomes, when does the recommendation happen? If he finishes runner-up but it still looks like champion-level sumo, that is where debate begins. This is what commensurate really means in practice. You may not hold the cup, but the record and the dominance feel like a Yokozuna performance. The kind of runner-up where the title is decided on the final day or in a playoff. The council can consider equivalent to a tournament victory results, but it becomes a judgment call, not a slam dunk. And that is important because a judgment call is where fans get surprised, because the rope is not only math, it is also confidence in what you will keep doing as the face of the sport. If he goes 10-5 or 9-6, it is still strong, still elite, still a good ozeki tournament. But rope talk cools fast, because Yokozuna is not about being good at the top, it is about being the clear best twice in a row, or so close that the sport treats it as the same thing. This is the zone where the story does not die, but it pauses. And pauses are dangerous because the next basho resets the spotlight. And if he goes mekoshi, this becomes an ozeki survival story immediately. The Kadoban system is brutal. One losing tournament puts an ozeki in danger, and a second consecutive losing tournament can mean demotion. That is why a single bad basho can flip the whole narrative from rope run to rank crisis, and why the top rank is so unforgiving even before you reach Yokozuna. So yes, Osaka can turn him into a legend, or it can punch the air out of the hype. Now let's talk about the three obstacles, the mini boss fights that decide which scenario you get. So if Osaka is step 2, what actually tries to kill a rope run? The first obstacle is the schedule at the top. At ozeki, there is no warm-up lane. You are fighting one bout a day for 15 straight days, and the calendar does not care how sore you are. The matchups are designed to collide the best with the best. And as the basho moves into the middle and late days, you keep running into the hardest names again and again. That is where the wear shows up, not only in injuries, but in tiny mistakes. One bad landing at the Tawara, one step too tall, one moment where your feet stop, and suddenly you are chasing from behind with almost no time to recover. The second obstacle is the rival era, and it matters right now, because the sport has real Yokozuna power at the top again. Hoshoryu was announced as the 74th Yokozuna in late January 2025, and is listed by the Kyokai as reaching Yokozuna in March of this year. Onosato was announced as the 75th Yokozuna in May 2025, and is listed as reaching Yokozuna in July of this year. When the top is stacked like that, your wins need to be more than wins. They need to be statement wins. If you are Aonishiki chasing the rope, you are not just trying to collect 12 or 13 victories. You are trying to look like the man who can beat the men who already wear the rope. The third obstacle is health and durability, and this is the quiet killer of rope runs. The Kyokai's own guide makes it clear why the standard is so strict. Yokozuna cannot be demoted, and if they keep producing poor records, they are expected to retire. That is why the sport does not want maybe. It wants proof that the body and the sumo can hold up again and again. Aonishiki's speed to the top is part of what makes him scary, because the Kyokai itself calls his promotion pace the fastest. Only 14 tournaments from pro debut to ozeki. But speed also means something dangerous. You are absorbing elite-level collisions earlier in your career than most wrestlers ever do. So the real question is not, is he strong enough? It is, can he stay strong enough long enough to repeat greatness in the next basho when everyone is targeting him? Now, if you want to watch Day 1-inch Osaka like you actually know what you are looking at, here is the checklist. In Osaka, I am watching the first week like a crime scene, because rope runs usually announce themselves early. If Aonishiki is serious, he cannot start sleepy against Sanyaku and spend the whole basho climbing out of a hole. I am also watching what happens the moment he takes a loss, because the rope is not only power, it is emotional control. Does he spiral? Or does he reset the next day like a champion and keep his sumo simple? Then I am watching his bouts against the very top, because that is where the whole story becomes real. It is not only whether he wins, it is how he wins. Is he taking the center, moving the other man backward, and choosing the grip and the pace? Or is he getting dragged into messy saves at the edge? The future Yokozuna does not just survive, he dictates. And if you see that pattern early, it changes how you interpret every win that follows. So comment your prediction right now. Does he take the yusho? Does he take a big Jun yusho that still looks like a champion? Or does the rope run stall? After Hatsu 2026, the door is open. But the rope is not a feeling, it's a standard. The Kyokai's own guide says you need 2 straight championships at ozeki or results that clearly match that level before you can even be considered. If you want this rope run tracked day by day through Osaka, like and subscribe to SumoSpirit, because we are not going to stop digging. And remember the calendar. Osaka starts March 8, 2026, so the next chapter is close. See you in the next one.